Okay, welcome to Life Prepared. Currently running in my canner back here. I just finished up filming how I was rescuing some blueberry topping that didn't taste so great. And in there I showed you how I put this through the food mill because I didn't want all these skins and stuff in there. But I'm going to make a second batch of jelly out of these skins. And that has to do with my homemade apple juice. So I'm going to take and make apple blueberry jam. When I make applesauce and apple pie filling and apple butter and such, there's a lot of sediment in the bottom here, so I'm not going to use right to the bottom. I save all my peels and my cores, and I cook those down in water, and I make an apple juice out of it. It tastes just like apple juice. It's a way, if you have to, buy your apples, it's one way to extend it. And a lot of the cores and peels have natural pectin in there. And again, this was just the stuff I pureed out, and it was 1.5 pints. Well, more than 1.5. Let me see. 1 pint, a second pint less a half cup that went into that that jam, according to the directions I followed on the low sugar pectin. So I'll get a couple of good sized jars, probably 2 or 3 jars out of it, and it'll be a nice little treat when the time comes. But I wanted to show you, if I could figure out where I put it. You don't have to have one of these. I got this, let's see if you can see it, jelly strainer set. Here, let me show you the other side too. Jelly strainer set. It was originally $8.49. I picked this up at a thrift store around the corner for around 50 cents. It had never been used. I'm assuming somebody bought it attempting to make jelly and just never bothered. So, it's not necessary. What you can do instead, you can take a piece of unbleached muslin that you could pick up at a sewing store like Joann's or someplace like that, and then I wash it really, really good, rinse it super well, and then if you have a sewing machine, you can make yourself a little bag, and when I tie it, I let it drip from the corner of a handle on my cupboards, my upper cupboards, into a bowl. And I've done that for years, at least 30 years, until I got this. And I just thought, since I have it, I might as well give it a try. It doesn't seem to hold much, so I might go back to my old ways, but you don't have to go out and buy anything expensive. Like I said, tie a jelly jar to a kitchen cabinet or hang it from a hook over a bowl and you're just as good. So I'm not going to make you watch the next 7 minutes of this stirring juice and waiting for the other stuff to come out. So I will let you know when I'm ready to strain this, and I'll show you that process as well. Alright, I'm trying to show you the best angle without getting it too wonky there, but I want to show you how to use the jelly jar. Now, okay, it's not too hot. I can pour it straight into the bag there. Oh, by the way, in the previous video, you didn't see me do this, but I thoroughly washed the bag. I used my dish soap. I scrubbed it, and I wrung it out really good. I rinsed it to death, and it's a little damp. Before you put your jelly in there, you want it damp so that it doesn't absorb all of your juice in the beginning. So anyway, I'm going to take my apple juice and blueberry pulp. I'm going to put it in this bag, and that's what it should have done in the previous video, is run straight through, but it was too thick. And oh, that's such a pretty color. I have a tendency to get really messy and burn myself, so I'm going to take my time here, get this down close to the bottom before I dump the rest in here. The one thing you do not want to do if you like a really good clear jelly is to squeeze the bag at all. You want it to take the time to completely drain on its own. And it could take up to 2 hours. This is pretty thin. I don't know if it's going to take that long. But here we go. I'm going to dump the rest of that right in there. And I think I did pretty darn good for using up blueberry topping that was a complete fail. It should turn into a really good, it already turned into a good jam, and now I should have a nice apple blueberry jelly. Once I get done draining this, I will process it and show you how I'm turning that into jelly. Okay, I wanted to bring you back really quick here because I wanted to show you this. Remember how at first it was pouring out? But there's still a whole lot of stuff left in this bag, see? If you can see it through the steam. This is where people get impatient. They start squeezing the bag and trying to get that to drip out faster. And, you know, I admit I do it too. At most what I do is I take a spoon and I'm not scraping. I'm not even touching. I'm just moving the pulp around a little bit because it tends to clog up the pores on the bag. But, you know, if I was doing a county fair and I wanted a blue ribbon for perfectly clear jelly, I would never do this. That's why they say to let it drip for a couple hours or even overnight in some cases, but I do speed it up a little bit. I'm not scraping. I'm barely touching the sides just to kind of, if there's any pulp, you know, getting stuck in there, it allows some of that juice to come through a little bit more. So I just wanted to show you that. It's really not something that you're supposed to do if you want prize-winning jelly, but I don't care about prize-winning jelly. I care about good taste in jelly. Okay, I'm going to try to get this jelly done. It is the next day. I did not have time to finish it yesterday. You know, things get in the way. But it's kind of cool. I started it in 2019, and I'm finishing it in 2020. I think that's kind of neat to say. So I'm going to put, I had strained my juice. Look how pretty it turned out. Strained it all for a couple hours yesterday, and then I put it in the refrigerator overnight so it wouldn't go bad. And let me tell you up front here, you may hear a lot of barking today. My dogs are extra barky. We took in 2 rescue kitties, and they're becoming little men until tomorrow when they get neutered. And today they're kind of just being little pains in the butt. So get this on to boil. And also, in case you noticed, my hands are kind of, you know, pretty colors today. I decided to make a junk journal, and all I had was plain copy paper and no money to go get any, so I found some shaving cream and food colors, and I decided to make some pretty papers here. And, of course, you know, food colors and hands don't go together. They turn out cute. So that's another one of my little projects I have going. If anybody wants to know how I'm doing it, I'd be happy to show you, but yes, I do a lot of crafting and things like that. So I have my juice. Again, I did not run out to the store to get sugar. I'm not driving 20 miles just for one item, so I'm going to use my powdered sugar. It worked last time. I have my pectin, and I have my lemon juice. I have all the tools I need, and I have an old ratty towel that I don't care if I get stained up to put my jars on. So I'm going to boil this. It did measure out to just over 3 cups, so that's good. I know how much is in there. And as I did last time, I'm going to do the sugar to taste, which powdered sugar generally is like you need twice as much as regular sugar. So I'm going to start with a cup of the powdered sugar. Now, in most recipes, you put your pectin in first, but I want to taste it clear. So I'm going to start with, I'm going to put in a cup based on my, I'm going to start with 2/3 of a cup. Based on my previous recipe, I needed a cup for this amount of sweetness, but this was made with more apple juice, so maybe it will be better this time. Not need so much sugar. Normally, if I want to make my own pectin, As I had mentioned in earlier, or I don't know if it was this video or my previous video, I apologize, but I will link both of these together. When you make natural pectin, you boil down the skins and the peels. Crab apples make great pectin. You do need a 1-to-1 sugar to juice in order not to have to use pectin, and I do not want to make jelly with that much sugar in it, so I'm going to use the pectin that I have from the store here. So I'm going to melt that sugar in here and give it a taste. I think I'm going to add just a touch more. It's pretty sweet, but and just a little. I'm not even going to add a full cup to this, so just another tablespoon or so, because that to me is plenty. And I'll whisk that in. Now my canner has vinegar in it to keep the jars from getting discolored. We have extremely high minerals and iron in our water, so it helps keep them from turning colors. And I have a little bit in this pot too, because I don't want them discolored from the inside either. And now, based on I do have a lot of pectin in here, natural, so I'm just going to add a tablespoon and a half. That's enough for 2 8-ounce jars, but I have enough for 3 in there. If it doesn't come out quite, well, I probably don't even have that much left. If it doesn't come out quite jelly enough, I'll just, it's going to get what I got left. That's all I can do. If it doesn't come out jelly enough, it'll make a good syrup. And who doesn't like blueberry syrup? So I'm going to whisk in the pectin. I've already got my sugar in there. I like to add my lemon juice a little bit towards, I don't know, it's just the way I was taught to do it. I don't know if that's the right way or not. And I'm going to grab just a tiny dollop of butter to keep it from foaming up too much. So we'll add that as well. So once this comes to a boil, I'm going to let it boil for a good couple minutes. Now, if I was not using the pectin, you would normally need to, if you wanted to use natural pectin, you would bring it to a boil, then put some of it on a frozen like saucer so that it would gel and you could tell if it's going to work right away. But I know this is going to work because I have the pectin in there, and it is made for a low sugar recipe. So I've used it so many times, I know it works. And once it comes to a boil, I will show you putting it in the jars, but no sense sitting there watching literally water boil or juice boil. Okay, I'm not sure how well you can see this because it's really hot, but this is what's known as a full rolling boil. You cannot stir down. And I've been stirring it for right around a minute now. Obviously it stops when I lift it up off the burner, but I wanted to show you what they meant by a full rolling boil. You cannot stir down. I've taken my jars. They were sterilized. I took them out of my boiling water and put them on my towel. I didn't think you needed to see that again. I did that in more detail in my previous video, so I didn't want to make this one super long for you, but I wanted you to see exactly what a full rolling boil you cannot stir down looks like. And the next step is to put these in my jars. Okay, for this next step, please be extra cautious, as jelly will cause severe, severe burns. Now, the new lids, they say you don't have to boil them, but I want them as clean as possible, so I am dropping them in my boiling water. I have 3 lids here. Based on my recipe yesterday, I believe I'm going to get 3 full jars of jelly and then maybe a little extra. But I have another lid handy if I need it. I like to get my ladle clean too, make sure it's as clean as possible. Now I did not get enough foam in here to worry about it. That's the nice thing about using the butter. Sorry, I just really want to be careful here. And now I'm going to fill these two within a 1/4 inch of the top. I do have a little measuring tool that I will check them, and I know that's not close enough yet. But I get them close and then I use a tablespoon and, oops, see? That's why I use an old towel, because no matter how hard I try, I'm messy. I can't help it. It is what it is. So I use my old stuff. Well, I may not get I might just get 3 jars here. And if I don't, that's okay too. I saved something that would have gone to waste. And the one that is not full enough will go into my refrigerator. And I will enjoy that just as much. Well, I'm going to get at least 3 jars. So, alright, I have a little bit left in the bottom. I need to measure, make sure I'm getting to within my 1/4 inch. And wherever my little tool is, I have no clue where it disappeared. I get too many things going at one time and I lose things, so let me find that. Okay, I measured that out, and as you can see, this is clean. This one's a little shy, so I'm not even going to bother to process it. I'm going to let it cool and I will put it in the refrigerator. But one of the most important steps in canning to make sure your seals are good is to wipe your rims down. So I use some vinegar. Now this is going to be exceptionally hot. Do not grab it from the bottom of the jar. There's like a little ridge here that sticks out. That's the part I touch when I turn my jars to clean them. See, I got some jelly off the rim. That may have caused a bad seal, and why put all that work into making something that only takes a minute to clean the rims off. Ooh, it's hot. Alright, there you go. I'm just going to give this one a quick wipe because I'm going to put my lid, my storage lid on it later. Alright, so my lids are in the hot water here. I do like to make sure they're as clean as possible so that they're for the boiling water. This little device is really handy. It's a lid lifter, and it's got a little magnet on the end, so it's real helpful to get these metal lids out of here. Right now it's not prime canning season, so if you guys are thinking of starting to can, go out and look for those jars. They're probably on clearance, but okay, let me finish that statement a second. Finger tight. I'm not cranking it. I'm just as tight as my fingers will go without... Ouch! Ooh, that's hot. Okay, see, I have something handy. Alright, so these are going in the canner. Let me finish my statement on the supplies. A lot of them are on clearance right now, so look for them. And I like to find a lot of my jars in the thrift store. What you do is you make sure you run your finger around the rim. There should be absolutely no chips whatsoever on the rim of the jar. That's the most important thing. And, you know, obviously no cracks or anything like that. So I pay about 20 cents a jar, sometimes 30 depending on the size. And even on sale you're going to pay quite a bit more than that. Now, another reason I keep this boiling water handy is I have less jars in there than I did yesterday, so my water level's not high enough. I can take this boiling water and pour it into my canner and get my level up where it needs to be. Now please be extra careful, guys. And I don't want to knock my jars over, so I'm going to go slow here. Alright, I have at least an inch, probably more like closer to 2 inches. I have to bring this back up to the boil. Once it boils, process for 10 minutes. Watch it, because if you boil it super hard, you could knock your jars over. Once it comes to the boil, I turn it down so it just stays at, the bubbles coming up. And I'm going to let it go for 10 minutes. Then you shut the canner off and take the lid off and let it rest for 5 minutes. Prevent siphoning and things like that. And then I will, hopefully, this will cool enough I can taste it and see how it turned out. I just wanted to talk very briefly while we're waiting for this canner. A lot of people used to take their jelly and put wax on top. Maybe your grandmothers did that, things like that. That's no longer considered safe. And actually, I learned when you took it out of the, put it fresh in the jar, since everything was sterile, we used to just turn it upside down, wait 5 minutes and flip it back around. But that, again, is no longer considered safe. So I'm just telling you, you may have seen it done other ways. One of the most valuable things you can purchase is a good canning book. And Ball is considered one of the experts on canning. I mentioned it in my last video. This thing is worth its weight in gold, everyone. I'm telling you, friends, this is my go-to book every single time. They have various ones out. This is another one. It's a Ball book. I think this is a newer version than the other one. The recipes, they come up with new ones and they present them to you so you can get different flavors and things like that. But what you want to look for is a book that really explains everything. And I'm going to tell you, you do not have to buy one of these to get started. If you have a nice deep stock pot that will cover your jars by at least 2 inches and have a little room for the water to boil, you can use that. You could either put a baking rack in the bottom if you have a round one. I've used an old heavy washcloth down in the bottom. It's just to keep your jars from bouncing around in there. So, if you want to try it on something without spending a lot of money, purchase those jars at the thrift store and, look for a stock pot. This jar lifter, though, it's really, really handy. You can get a jar lifter, the little magnetic lid retriever, I guess, if that's what you want to call it, and the measuring device, and probably for around $10. It's not that expensive. But in the book, this is why the books are so good. I mean, yes, you could find it online, but they give you an altitude chart. So if you live in Denver, obviously you have to change your methods of cooking. I'm in Michigan, almost below sea level in where I'm at, and I don't have to adjust anything, but it's something you really need to know. So get yourself a really good canning book. Get one that's fairly current. See them at garage sales. Make sure they're not like from the 1940s where methods were different, but it's worth having. Okay, my canning is done, and I waited the 5 minutes, so I'm going to get these jars out. That's why it's nice to have this rack, but you can, go in there and lift each one. It's just kind of hot with the steam. Now, there's a lot of water on top of here. You do not want to tip these sideways. You can break your seal. And my canner the rack is pretty old, and it's time to get a replacement as soon as I can. Our water destroys them pretty fast with rust. So what you do, if you don't like the water, just take and dab it off on the top. I'm obviously not putting any pressure at all. I can get those pieces off before they dry to my lid, and it looks nicer that way. And the best sound you can ever hear is when those little babies start popping. So that is my jelly, and I really think I did a good job rescuing 3 pints of blueberries that probably would have went in the trash or fed to my animals, and I ended up with 3 full jars of jam plus a partial, this one right here, and I ended up with 2 full jars of jelly and a partial. So I think that's pretty good. And this is the only waste I have out of 3 full jars of blueberries that would have not been eaten. And I thought I'd give you a look. I took some of that jelly, I put it in the freezer. It's still really thin because it was so hot, but it's definitely going to gel. It'll show me it'll gel. And I wanted to show you the jelly from yesterday. So I made myself some toast. I'm going to have some jelly toast today. Let me get you a little better view here. There you go. This is my jam from yesterday. I was going to eat it while I was cooking. I thought, well, maybe you'd like to actually see it. This is why I don't put a lot of sugar in there, because I like a good bit of fruit on my toast. So that is what we rescued yesterday. That's the jam. That has the bits of blueberry from putting it through the food mill. And our jelly is going to be too thin because it's still warm, but you can see how jelly comes out more clear, and I'm still going to eat it. It's going to taste good. And once that sets up, it'll be beautiful. And you see the difference, how one is jam, has the bits in it, and the jelly doesn't. But I'm going to enjoy this. The fresh glass of goat's milk from my girls. And I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it gives you a little encouragement to try if you've never done it. Or if you've never thought of repurposing something that didn't quite turn out. I hope you give that a thought too. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Oh yeah, definitely worth it.